450 metric tons of salt, 40 were used to battle Monday's blast of winter. Back on the Tillicum ice rink, the salt is being poured, and drivers are going home to heal their wounds.
The storm hammered other parts of Vancouver Island as well. As Dean Stoltz reports, the snow and the cold combined to turn roads into rinks.
For most of the day, travel on all roads between Nanaimo and Courtenay is a complete nightmare. This is Highway 19, the Inland Island Highway south of Buckley Bay. Cars in the ditch, trucks stuck on the icy road, their drivers trying to dig out some traction. The farther south we go, the worse it gets, and at Cook Creek, traffic comes to a halt as numerous cars and trucks struggle in the deep snow. These two rigs can't make it up the hill just south of the intersection. Others, meanwhile, pull over and do what they have to get chained up. I see you're borrowing chains here from another truck driver. Just tell me how your day's going.
Can I swear on TV? I moved out here in March. I'm originally from Alberta, and it's not even this bad in Alberta.
As the snow piles up about 20 centimeters here alone, it becomes a struggle to move even the shortest distances. What's the worst part of it? People without snow tires, what sort of things are you seeing out there?
I think it's the ice under the snow. It's getting everybody really, it's the ice underneath the snow. No matter what you got, you're going to slip.
In Comox, the surprise storm hits hard too. As much as 10 centimeters falls in just a few hours. While all this mayhem is happening on the south and mid-island, farther north it's clear. This is Highway 19 at Black Creek. Only the snow that fell last week is roadside. And just north of Campbell River at Roberts Lake, no snow at all. But no matter where you live, everyone's attention is now turning to the cold. Frigid overnight temperatures around minus 10 to 12, and daytime highs Tuesday as cold as minus 6. A blast of Arctic air that no doubt will bring its share of problems.
The most number of calls we get start around minus 5. By the time it hits minus 10, we're busy.
Frozen and burst pipes will be a reality for some in the next few days, and it's probably already too late to avert disaster.
A lot of the houses built in the last 20 years have frost-free faucets, but that only works if you take all the attachments off. So if you leave them on, the water stays in the faucet, it freezes, it breaks.
He says at the very least, make sure your valves to your outside faucets are turned off.
Then there were whiteout conditions on Central Island. That kept tow truck drivers extremely busy this morning as the roads proved just too much and too slippery for many drivers. This is what drivers faced on the Nanaimo Parkway this morning. Near whiteout conditions, making for a difficult commute. North of Nanaimo, roads near Nanoose Bay were extremely treacherous. Several drivers slid into ditches, keeping firefighters and the RCMP busy, and there was no shortage of work for tow truck drivers.
Pretty hairy today. Yeah. There's a lot of cars and ditches, and it's busy for everybody.
It's the 22nd of November, and it is definitely early. Mind you, I've been here a while, and we have had snow on Halloween night. So, yeah, this is exceptionally early for us right now.
Nanaimo received almost 10 centimeters, more snow than expected. In Vancouver, temperatures are rapidly dropping, and that's putting the city's homeless in extreme danger. But as the CBC's Justine Ma reports, getting many of them to come in from the cold is a huge challenge.
Would you like a sandwich before you go?
Colton Dogsley spends time each day handing out food and clothes to those on the streets. These days, his work is even more important, especially to those who choose to sleep outside.
It's difficult for them to be inside and be around that many people. I mean, obviously it's going to be safer in terms of it's going to keep them warm, but is it going to be safer for their mental health?
Extreme weather shelters have opened up across Metro Vancouver, making 300 beds available. But none of the shelters have actually filled up. In fact, some sit nearly empty. Only one person slept at the Westminster Bible Chapel in Burnaby last night, even though there's room for 27.
It could be that, it's taking a little bit of time for word to get out. We really rely on outreach workers to go out to pound the pavement.
George and Alfred are both homeless. This cold snap has forced Alfred to move into a shelter, but George refuses.
Too many people in one spot at the same time, being stressed. I'd rather freeze my ass off and put up one myself.
It's an opinion shared by even those who have their own rooms.
My house is a disgusting motel with junkies and cabinets all over.
Last year, the province introduced the Assistance to Shelter Act, prompted by the death of a homeless woman who burned to death trying to stay warm. It empowers police to move the homeless to shelters under extreme weather. Homeless activists say they don't know of any police force who has used the act.
People living in an Esquimalt apartment block ended up in the cold this afternoon after a fire broke out in their building. Emergency crews responding at about 2 o'clock this afternoon after a fire broke out in a ground floor suite. No one was injured, but residents were forced out into the cold. Firefighters were able to contain the fire damage, but the smoke spread throughout the building, alerting tenants to the problem.
We're on a hallway, just got a lot of smoke. I live on the 4th floor. This happened on the 1st floor. So, just got my stuff and pulled on and just went down the hallway and started banging on doors. All the floors. There was smoke. You'd smell it, see it. Didn't know where it was coming from.
The cause of the fire is still under investigation. And Paul Hayson joins us for a first look at sports tonight. We'll be back in just a moment.
Closed captioning of this CHEK program is brought to you in part by Second Slice Pizza. Call 480-1222.
My teeth were really crooked.
I felt self-conscious when I was meeting new people. I thought they were looking at my teeth.
The team at Babin Dentistry took wonderful care of me.
They're courteous, they're professional. All I wanted to do was smile from that moment on.
I get so many compliments on me.
It's just nice to look in the mirror in the morning when you look at a nice set of white teeth.
It's not just about cosmetics.
I feel happy. I just feel really confident.
It's amazing how beautiful smiles can change your life.
Is that sore shoulder or aching knee holding you back? Parkway Physio can help. With advanced orthopedics and a holistic approach to health, we make sure that your body can handle anything you throw at it. Parkway Physiotherapy, Victoria and West Shore, WeGetYouBetter.com.
SB Windows and Doors is honestly the best. A certified dealer from Milgard Manufacturing means the best product, service, and lifetime warranty. Don't miss your window of opportunity to save up to 50% off Milgard Windows. Due to popular demand, SB Windows is extending their sale until the end of November. New construction or renovation, there has never been a better time to save. In Victoria and Duncan, see for yourself why SB Windows and Doors is honestly the best. Do you have a crowded driveway? For the lowest cost storage on the island, West Coast Super Storage. Vehicles from $45. 24-hour security on site. Find out more at 250-642-5551. West Coast Super Storage. This CHEK program is brought to you by the Victoria Salmon Kings, the coolest game in town.
Paul Hayson now with Monday Night Sports. Stinger's story is quite unusual, Paul.
Yeah, it's a story for the ages. Thanks, Tony. Coming up a little bit later in sports. We're going to be talking a little junior hockey, and it was a big weekend for those West Shore Stingers. Why? Well, because they finally won a game. Doesn't sound amazing until you realize they hadn't won a game in nearly a year, since December of '09. So the boys picked up their first win of the year and improved to 1-20 on the season. We'll hear from some of the boys coming up. Also a big night for former Victoria Grizzly captain Tyler Bozak. Bozy scored his third goal of the season for the Toronto Maple Leafs, leaving his former Grizzly line mate Jamie Benn and the Dallas Stars. We'll have all that and a whole lot more coming up a little bit later in sports. Tony?
All right, Paul, we'll see you a little later on. Sounds good. The BC Liberal Party has its first contender for leader and premier tonight. Dr. Moira Stillwell announcing this morning that she will run for the leadership. The Vancouver MLA was a nuclear medicine physician prior to entering politics. Stillwell says she supports the HST but promises to move up the referendum date if she wins. Family and friends of the newlywed Nanaimo father gathered today to say goodbye. Malcolm Johnson had just been married in Mexico when an explosion at a hotel took his life. Kendall Hansen has that story.
One of Malcolm Johnson's pictures was the inspiration for the song. His Aunt Betty Johnson, who wrote it and is performing, always had a special spot for Malcolm. 1 month before Malcolm's wedding in Mexico, she got married, and Malcolm gave her away. More than 500 people are at the Port Theatre to remember the young realtor who was killed by an explosion at the Mexican resort where he married just 4 days earlier. Each person remembers a remarkable young man whose joy for life rubbed off on those around him.
He was leading edge, and he was a risk taker, and he was adventurous, and he could drink and smoke and swear with the best of us. And he was instantly likable. And so I started as a manager. I transitioned into a business manager, and I ended up as a friend.
Nanaimo's mayor worked with Malcolm as part of the Downtown Business Improvement Association and says his death is a loss for the city.
And the tragedy is immense. The loss to Nanaimo is huge, and I'm totally sad.
Malcolm's wife Heather sits near the front holding their daughter Audrey Rose. Trish Ward was with Heather and Malcolm when they met. She says Malcolm was perfect for Heather and addresses Malcolm.
There are so many of us keeping an eye on both your girls for you right now. So my brother, my friend, I'm not going to say goodbye. I'm going to say until we meet again.
Near the end, a family friend reads a message from Heather, part of it written to her late husband and partner of 8 years.
I'll do whatever it takes to help our daughter know what a powerful loving young she had.
Malcolm Johnson was loved by many and will be remembered and missed.
Former Lieutenant Governor David Lamb died this morning. As the CBC's Deborah Goebel reports, BC has lost one of the province's most remarkable citizens.